Hello and welcome to How to Connect with Humans. This is series 6 and it's episode 4. Hello Wayne, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. Today is a very sweet day because we have somebody that we have seen through the eye of the lens. We have seen his art. We have heard his music. I personally spent pretty much most of the 2 quarantines lullabied and entertained by his beautiful work. We have Chris Nunan with us, and he's created something called Soulnudging.
Yep.
Which original seems to have been Steve Adair's idea. So I'm really curious to know about that. Yeah. And we absolutely adore Steve, and we had him here in the series, and he's coming back in September. So one of the things I would wake up every day during the quarantine was to see, what's Chris done today? And he would be either with his guitar or he's got a collection. I think he's got banjo. I think he's got the piano. So we'll be creating songs and then making up things and or playing or drawing and photographs. So Chris, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the way from
Denmark.
Wow.
Yes. This is like the European Vision Contest now. So.
There was some pretty embarrassing things with the football, yeah.
Yes, we're not going to mention the football,
no.
Because that's something that we're still trying to understand through the principles. So. So Chris, oh my gosh, Chris, you have done so much. If I start reading all your bio, I think I wouldn't finish today because you've done so many things. You have been teaching psychology to inmates in prison. You have been around so many creative and soul-nourishing activities, but also very deep life experiences. Not only that, you know what Chris and somebody very lovely that we now did during quarantine?
I think I did.
And the beautiful Doris?
Mm-hmm.
They got married.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we are aching to hear about your stories and what you do and sharing with us some of your beautiful stuff, Chris. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the invitation. Well, really, I've been kind of course, I've had it in my mind that we're having this talk tonight, but I haven't had, and I've several times thought, well, I might do this, I might say this, but then I dropped it because I want it to be a spontaneous meeting, because that's how I work, and I'm a creative person, yes. I also am not. Some days I'm not, or I just feel like I don't feel good. Sometimes I feel good. There's nothing. It's not. I just think that the important thing about me. I can see Laurie is coming in. Mm-hmm. The important thing about what I do is I try to follow the hunches that come from inside. You could say what my soul is nudging me to, and I've been, and I think sometimes because I do that, and I have the possibility. I mean, I'm in a place in my life where I've had an early retirement, so I don't, I can pretty much decide what to do and follow my interest. And then it's also because I found it's very much helpful to have that perspective on life. It's a funny thing, but I've not always been like that. If it goes back before 2009, I had this academic education, psychology, and language, and I've been teaching a lot of people, and I had a lot of really nice encounters, but I've never really known where it came from, or I've never really understood what was actually going on. So I mean, somehow or another, this meeting the principles back in 2013 for me was like, oh, now I see better what it is, what's been going on in my life, and but you know, I think it's just things that just, you know, life is what goes on, what happens when you're busy making other plans. I think John Lennon's quote, and I think that's pretty true. That you don't, you know, when you look back at something, you can say, oh, there was a line in it, and this and this happened. And, you know, you might even see a reason, but when it's going along and we're in the now, it's kind of just what happens. I open my eyes in the morning and such happens. Yeah, so it's not chronological, but still, you know, just to give an idea, I've had some experiences in my life where I had what would I call a spiritual encounter or a spiritual experience, and typically where I couldn't explain what was happening, or I couldn't explain, you know, I was greatly surprised somehow or another. For example, I had this idea 20 years ago that I was going to be a Buddhist, and I was training and at the ashram and meditating and doing things you do. And my master at the time, he was kind of giving some meditation instructions, which are very important in Tibetan Buddhism. And we're supposed to kind of imagine the Buddha and integrate it in our body. And what happened was that I was sitting there in this meditation hall, and this was for the second year I was there. And what happened was that what I got inside of me was a feeling and a sense of Jesus. I said, "What's wrong here?" Now, I got the wrong radio station. I said, really, yeah, I kept this a secret for many years because I didn't know what to do with this information. But it was one thing that for me made me, one thing that happened was that I just, like this, you know, snap of my fingers, realized that this was not here. I was not going to stay in this congregation. Yeah. And not because I've got anything against it, or I still think it's very beautiful. Actually, this ashram is very close to where we live now. Yeah. It's one of the North Europe's largest ashrams. Yeah. So, and I know a lot of people there, but it's so I think this Sydney Banks is pointing to with insights, or I think Dick and Bettinger said once that it surprises you. It's something that surprises you. It's something that you kind of, I made this up, or my intellect, my ego made this up. It's not always convenient when we have an insight. It's not, oh, that's really nice. It might mean, no, I've got to change my life, or there's something totally different. Or maybe something you thought was the real way of living suddenly isn't the real way of living. Yeah? So back in 2009, that's another story, I've told it a lot, but I was in the hospital. I had this immune defense system was attacking my blood pellets. So I had become I was bleeding all the time, and they kept giving me blood, and then my immune defense killed off the blood. So it's a pretty dangerous situation. And at one time I'm lying in this bed in the hospital, and it's a single room. I was very lucky, and I had all these tubes and drops and all these things you have in a hospital. I was totally scared and tired, and I felt like the blood was kind of dripping into my lungs and like choking most of the time, and which was also happening because all my skin was kind of purple. Yeah, very unpleasant. And so I had this, what I would call fear of dying. And well, what do I do? Well, I switch on the television. This was kind of a television monitor at the end of the bed. I switch it on, and they're showing a Chinese splatter movie with swords and heads and blood and horses and armor. Yeah. And, it just, stunned me. And the one thought I got was, God has humor. Now, we get this on television, and I'm here in all my, But what happened just, I think, 5 seconds after me thinking God has humor, I had this feeling of relief. So it was like, ah. And now what I'm saying now it sounds strange, but I'm sure that there was a light that came in the room. Yeah, and a feeling of love and something caressing me, holding me. And a bit later, one of the nurses came in, and I thought it was the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. I could see the love down the hallway, and I had to go out. There was so much love. The whole town, the whole country. I just had this, I was high on love for about 14 days. And it was, I've also, it could have been the medication. I got a lot of steroids also. But I just had this feeling that everything, it was like, what I've read and heard of other people talking about enlightenment experiences, I guess it was somehow, but the funny thing about it was the humor, the absurdity, and that was really where what happened was I could laugh at myself and my own agony, my own pain, and it changed my relationship to my pain. I mean, typically, I was still in the same situation, but my thoughts about it changed. So I had this feeling of ease, and my fear of death vanished. It just vanished. Now, this is a story that I've been telling that to a lot of people at different, and I don't understand quite what happened, but I did when I stumbled into Sydney Banks's writing and heard about him. I just said, oh, yeah, I know that. There's something, I could recognize this sudden change that can happen when you think you know what the world is and it isn't. Yeah. The whole kind of story, the whole thing can change. And Yeah, and it's so we have in Denmark and the Free P organization in Denmark. We have well, I've been part of these books. In Danish, yeah. Life Has You or Life Has Your Back. There's 3 volumes out now, yeah,
Wow.
with people telling about their insights. It's really been interesting, and the last book, I've also been doing some artwork. I've been reading about people's insights, and then I've kind of tried to express them into a drawing. And the principles aren't the formula, or they aren't how-to, but of course they point to something very important. And for me, one of the things that's really important here is that it somehow or another, I've seen it's got something to do with creativity, whatever that is.
Mm.
It comes from a creative place, doesn't it? I mean, and we don't know what's the spark that kind of inspires the artist to do whatever he or she does. I'm not talking about painting by numbers. I'm talking about kind of expressing something that comes from the unknown. And I guess with the principles, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about formulas becoming form. Yeah. And actually, that's what's happening all the time. We just forget the formulas, don't we? And we get attracted or addicted to the form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do with my art is trying to reinvent all the time, every day. So when COVID-19 came along, of course I got scared. I don't have the best of health. I have a bit of a heart problem and so on, and I don't want to get sick. So at the time, I also noticed that we had a quarantine, and one of the insights I had, well, okay, I'll play some more music. Oh, I could draw some more. Fill out the gaps with creativity. And I think that's just the whole idea, because for me that's like again getting that feeling of relief. So I'm not suggesting it works for everyone, but it seemed to work for me, and I'm also very grateful to Laurie Holmes that I can see is on the call. I don't know if she's listening. Because she set up a group at one point called something, what was it called? Creating? Not creating from the impossible, but creating from the unknown, I think the group was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was part of it, and I was very interested concept where we had, we had different people meet us, and one of the things was kind of trying to be creative and do some drawing. And I've been drawing a lot in my life, but not like I do now. I think there was we had some exercises we were going to do about creativity, and one of them was, well, when you draw something, let's say you do it intuitively. So instead of having a fixed idea about what it's going to be, you can just what comes through your pencil or pen or whatever. And I remembered this Sydney Banks quote about thought being like the painter's brush.
Yeah.
And I just yeah. So again, I see this parallel that the creativity is well, that's a way I think God talks to us, or Spirit talks to us, or yeah, and it's an amazing thing, because what I'd started doing this year over the quarantine was, I also had this idea that I was going to do a drawing a day. I started doing that. And it's very interesting, if you say you do something every day, doesn't matter how you feel. You know, any day is, you know, just one drawing a day. How that starts opening some other fields, some other things inside of you. You know that, Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of pulls out some more from inside of you, because you're kind of opening that gate. Because I thought that was that's a beautiful thing. And we went to Salt Spring Island, Doris and I, in 2017, and I met Bobby Heron on the stairs outside of the place where we're having the course. And she's a sketchbook artist. She's also written a book, and she's also into the principles. And she had this sketchbook that where she's doing beautiful drawings and paintings and all kinds of things, where she documents her life, where she is and what she's doing, and so she showed me some of her work, and I think that's also been a part of, oh yeah, maybe artwork, because what I sometimes feel is, when you look at the principles world, that we've been to a lot of conferences and things, and listened to a lot of webinars, and been to a lot of seminars and stuff. It's very much has to do with the spoken word. But I think I'd like to move it also in direction of the arts. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because that's also a way of meeting what we're talking about, I feel. Yeah. And so, well, it's just my personal. And soul nudging was really, the word soul nudging came from Steve Adair, because I once heard him on a webinar on Supermind, which was an online, a lot of webinars went on Supermind, where it was Brett Chitty was hosting. He did that for several years, and from the beginning I was part of it, and I listened to everything as much as I could. And I think that was really nice to be able to also ask questions and meet people there. And so Steve Adair was one of them, and I think this soul nudging was just kind of pushing or nudging a little bit in that direction. That's what we can do. We can't really say what it is, can we? We can't really. We can point. Yeah, well, if you look that way, you might just have this experience, this amazing experience of who you really are. Yeah, and so I was reading the text on soul nudging. I also used for the bio, and I had this really strange experience, because it's a couple of years since I wrote most of it. I had this really strange experience. Is that me now? Well, yes. No, not really. I'm really not quite sure who me is. I mean, I'm kind of waking up every day, and there's something that's consistent, of course. Well, I'm looking older, but there's something that's consistent. But there's also some kind of thing in what I call consciousness, or that's yes. I don't always know exactly who I am. But I know I have an impact. I can feel that. I've had a lot of people following me, or I've been mentor for a lot of people online in between. But I don't do anything to sell myself or do I don't really. I've helped people, and because that seemed to be the right thing to do. I mean, I'm in part of my life now where I don't have to, I don't have to have the economy through that way. So it's more like what feels nice to do. And I've been, as you know, a photographer. That's also what happened after my illness and quote enlightenment, whatever that was, experience in the hospital. When I came home from the hospital, I looked out in our garden and I said to my wife, Doris, I said, well, I don't know what these birds out there, they're so beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. Well, and she said, well, they've always been there. And I said, yeah, I know, but there's something different. There's something different. And this something different was actually what happened to be it kind of kickstarted my me working with photography, and I've been allowed to share the screen.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me see. Where do I just a minute? No, I'm not doing it yet. I seem to be doing it now. Let's see. Here it is. Can you see this beautiful picture?
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it almost as if this plant is hugging itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it's just one of these. And I mean, very often these. When you start looking closer at nature, you get this feeling that it's actually a communication that's going on. I mean, instead of I'm just looking at it, it's also telling me something. This is from just close from where we live, and sometimes the colors of what are telling you something. Yeah. So right now, some of these pictures are going to show you where I live. This is actually at our tree in our garden. There's a hummingbird hawk muff. They're very rare in Denmark. They came all the way down from the Mediterranean.
Wow.
And because it was very hot, they came all the way up. And amazing. It looks like a mixture between what do you call them?
Moth and a butterfly.
Yeah, a hummingbird and a shrimp. If you can see that.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this boy standing there at the water, I just think very often it's what catches my imagination, or this is the kilometer from where I live. I live in a peninsula, or an island, it used to be an island. And yeah, I just think this is from our garden, looking out the neighbor, the White House over there. So what I do with my photography is just have this. When I'm in this mode where I take these pictures, it's almost as if the pictures are kind of presenting themselves to me. I'm not, I don't really plan what I have the camera with me everywhere, but it just seems to happen, and that's some of the things that I like about it. And for a period, just look at these amazing patterns all over. It could be it could be a secret language, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it could be someone writing on the sky. If you can, yeah. So this is kind of late when it's getting a bit more windy. Yeah. Well, this is also exactly from our garden, and this is the water around where we live. Yeah. And I love this feeling where you can see the storm coming. I love this experience of water and wind. I don't know if you imagine sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I think this picture just tells the story that, yeah, when we get old, we'll sit there and look out of the water, and isn't that just beautiful?
It's gorgeous.
This is the lighthouse where we live. It's 4 kilometers from where we live. There's something about lighthouses, yeah?
Mm.
I think they have this, I don't know, people seem to just gather out there. This is the marina at the small, that's just down at our grocery store. And then there's this marina. This is 2 kilometers from where we live.
Wow.
I mean, it's not Salt Spring, but still, it has some of the same energy to it, and a lot of people, artists and bohemians out here.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is also interesting. This is taken out of the lighthouse. You can see people sitting there enjoying the water, and opposite there's Aarhus, the town I used to live in, just up on the other side. Takes an hour driving there but it's not. If you take the straight line to the city I lived in before, it's about 8-10 kilometers. Yeah.
Wow.
And this is also taken from our garden. Amazing moon.
Wow.
Yeah. And when we moved out here, the whole field where we live was full of red poppies. Yeah, I've never seen that many poppies. Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the background is the church. This is the winter, where it's kind of the different seasons. We don't really have really cold winters here anymore.
Oh.
This is the tree, and you can see it from the end of our garden. And this is just this is our local church. I love that place.
So beautiful.
Yeah, and this is our local church taken from our terrace, where we can see an early morning with the sun. Sun is rising. It's an amazing picture. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, this is a portal. Well, it looks like that. It's an old industrial place, but the light made it look like an opening from heaven.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, I think that was what I wanted to show you right now. But these images maybe give you a little idea of what I do with landscape photography. I besides what you know from the conference and the conference photography. And I think what was this ability I'd call it my ability to see these images and take them, came directly from that experience I had. It was as if the curtain was away, yeah, as if I could see. And it may be my imagination, I guess, of course it is, but it was as if I saw something that I hadn't seen before. Well, I saw something more clearly. And I guess that's a nice present to get, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see some of the photos I've taken before that period, before this happened, and they just don't have that. Like the pictures you just saw came out on a local, being sold here as a calendar. So that's nice. And but I think it's just for me, it's like. It's given me an experience of I feel that when I have this my camera, I feel that it's a very nice It's really very helpful. If you don't have a camera, you could just take you could take a piece of paper and make a square hole in it, or just do like this. Just look at the world, because what I think the camera does for you is it kind of makes a frame. A frame.
Yeah.
Sorry. Siri started playing music in my ears. What did I say? Gosh, Siri. Yeah, but I think that's. Do you have Siri?
Yeah, we do.
We do, yeah.
We do. This whole house is pretty much designed by Wayne to be completely Apple remote control. So Apple, if you want to sponsor us, we will be very happy for that. We're not yet sponsored by Apple, but
hopefully.
Yeah. So we have cameras. We have we have HomePods. We have AirPods. We have you name it. I think,
you name it, we've got it.
Yeah. So funny enough, we're having these discussions with Siri about, instead of just going on pressing and turning on the light, it's sometimes 5 minutes of a heated argument with Siri about turning on this light or another.
Siri enjoys it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think it's I can understand it. I also have this fascination with IT and gadgets.
Yeah.
By the way, I've heard there's a rumor that, well, I know it's not a rumor. Julian Freeman has just got a job with Apple. I don't know quite what he's going to do, but
really.
So if you need someone to talk to, he might be helpful.
Oh, now that we know Julian is an insider of the.
Yeah, he could be helpful.
We love what he does as well. I mean,
yeah.
You are very good friends with Julian, and you have created things together, and you have been at the conferences.
Yeah, we've been doing some things together. He made a little film also where I was talking about creativity. I was drawing something. I tried to, because one of the things that happened was that also happened at Laurie Holmes' course. One of the things that happened was that I had this this idea. I found out that if I was drawing something while I was listening to something, which is something I did almost all my school time. Now, I couldn't sit quiet on a chair and so, but if I was drawing something, it seemed to give me more focus and more calm. So all my old school books and everything are full of doodles, all over the place. And so I'd simply constantly doodle. I didn't, it's just what I was doing. And I didn't realize at the time there was also a way of kind of getting my nervous system more relaxing. So it's also, drawing something is you just try it. If you're in a bad mood or anything, it doesn't matter what you draw. You have to kind of switch off the inner critic or editor, and just give yourself permission to do anything. Anything is okay. So if you do that, it's very hard to keep being grumpy or. Because it just well, for me it kind of changes something, and I think that's because it's you're kind of getting closer to your creativity, also because you're shutting up, because you can't talk and draw. I can maybe sometimes, but I've seen this as quite of a miracle there. And I used to have this for years. I worked with people with ADHD, and it was really interesting with drawing. I remember some amazing results we had with people drawing and kind of going from being all over the place to kind of just being focused.
Yeah.
And so I think any kind of art can do that for us also, kind of ground us. That if in the best case, it's a grounding exercise also. Yeah, and I also think it's a very good thing, because if you have this high wire energy, it's good to have it channeled into something that's more usable. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be art.
What I really love what you're saying is that one of the things is that I think, Chris, we came around the principles sort of around the same time. So we sort of connected with similar people at the time, that after so many years, whatever it is, like 9, 8 or whatever years now, you know, we have so many people in our lives that that we love and share. Like, you know, when I went to train with Jamie Smart and did Clarity, Laurie was on the year above us, sort of thing. So she was mentors, and what I've seen so far is that because something in you starts clearing up, you start seeing things, as you say, more clear. You start understanding how our human experience is created. It's inevitable that we get closer to creation, and because we're closer to creation, what I've seen pretty much everybody gets more creative. Whatever it is, people start getting more creative. Like I've been very creative all my life, but one of the things that I always thought was I wasn't very good at drawing or painting, or that wasn't my thing. And one day I came back from one of my first trainings with Ian Watson, and as you say, I started doodling. I have this new app on my iPad, and and I started playing like a child. Without the difference was, as you were saying, Chris, like my critic had switched off, so I was able to play like a kid when I was given crayons or pencils, and I loved drawing when I was a kid. So and I used to take me to another world, and to my surprise, I started creating things that didn't seem to come from me, from what I thought Carolina was. And that's exactly what I'm hearing from you. Like something was getting through me.
Yeah.
And my daughter then was growing up, and she's an amazing artist. And because she was doing things for school, and I was like, well, okay, I'll sit down next to her and start doing things. And as it happened to you during quarantine, we sat down and we just had hours just to play. And for the first time, I did painting, and I did self-portraits, and I did portraits of other people, which seems to be one of the things I really love to do. So it turns out that my idea that I wasn't very good at this or whatever, it wasn't true.
No.
And but as far as, because there's always points where I'm drawing or I'm creating or I'm painting, there's always a point where I go, this is not good, I don't like it, it's not what I want, it's not. And as far as I remind myself that, well, it has nothing to do with what you think about it. It's like, it's not like, it really, your opinion, it doesn't matter, so just keep going. Instead of what Chris is doing, like, you know, it's like you just hold that and just keep. And as far as I get out of the way with my idea of what it is supposed to be or how it's supposed to finish, or something else comes in and I'm available for that moment of creation. So like when we do these episodes, and one of the things that we absolutely really wanted to have you here and love your energy and what you're bringing to the table, is because we know that many people will hear you talk and will feel what we feel when we talk to you, when we are in your presence, because we were at the conference in London listening to amazing teachers and speakers. And I remember both of us, one of the things that started happening is that we started turning towards you and Doris, and we were, not because it was boring what we're hearing, but there was something about that beautiful energy that you were displaying, and the way that you were working with those cameras, and the way that you two were working together. It's like a dance that you do together.
No, thank you.
It's really beautiful. So I got goosebumps, because actually what I put on the description of this is that the picture of this on the thumbnail of this episode is actually a picture I took of you.
Yeah, it's nice.
A picture of, right?
Happy about that.
And you're in that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that's what connects us, when what we've seen on your pictures is that they tell a story, tell a feeling. It's like if we can go to the formless and grab something and bring it into form. That's what it looks like, whether it's a painting, whether it's painted by a picture. And all we do is just we sort of gently grab it nicely, and we bring it into this world of form. So one of the other things that I've seen you do so beautiful, Chris, and I really want to honor that, is that I've seen you do the same beautiful thing in the presence of death, celebrating the life of your friend, your friends, and all I could see was absolute beauty. Well, you were playing your guitar, or you know, pictures of that. And so I wonder if your relationship with death has changed as well. Has that changed?
Yeah. I mean, there's just several things in that. There's also, it's also a relationship with your own age. Well, I'm 65 now. That's not that old, but I've had some issues with my heart several times. So you never know. But I think it's very, 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 very important thing is when you start seeing every day as a gift, and when you also realize that there's a beauty and a grace. I think the word grace is very, what I really pointing to is, and I also think that's why I also found that I have I feel at home with Christianity, as you might have noticed, but that's not in a dogmatic way. I think it's more like that's just one of the ways you can describe this. You could describe grace. I'm not against anyone else's version of it, but for me, it's just made sense. When I guess I also grew up with some of that way of seeing things. But it's just it's like when you with the principles, you have this understanding. You can see what's going on, but what's you can see what's it's really about. That's how I feel about it. You get a tool to see what's what it's pointing to, the whatever is. I mean, I've even Sydney Banks to start in the beginning called it Christ consciousness, didn't he? So I mean, but we don't have. But it doesn't have to be all about Sydney Banks. I just figured he was pointing to something that's, as he also says, already, or in a way, already known.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just being said in a way that maybe is more updated, with more points to the time we live in now.
Yeah.
I mean, back in time, you had if someone could read and write, they were really something special. And, most universities and educations came from the church, didn't they? So, I mean, the people who could read the Bible, they must possess special powers and stuff, yeah? Because most people couldn't. I mean, so it became kind of like a fetish or whatever, so I guess. And but seeing behind what's really going on, I'm trying to understand what the more deeper meaning of it. You see, okay, it's kind of between the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the feeling, I would say. Yeah.
That's why the beauty of the principles is that basically it's like understanding. We always sort of compare it to understanding gravity, because like if you understand gravity, that doesn't go against your religion, right?
No.
It just helps you not fall
to be the same
when you get into church or whatever, or you get out of the temple, or you'll get there faster if you're riding a bike, or it's like it's going to help you that way. It's going to help you understand where your experience is coming from. So it doesn't go against any religion. I think especially the origin of religion in Latin is the religare is to bring together.
Yeah.
So it's pointing at connection. It's pointing at bringing together. So bringing together the formless to the form. So then, I guess, as soon as it comes into form, as soon as, because we are in form, as soon as you come into the human experience, we all explaining for what we can explain from something that is almost impossible to explain with words or in form, because I love when Sydney Banks is like, well, is that, if you try to put the formless under the microscope and try to understand what it is, well, it makes no sense. It's formless, so you're not going to see it.
Of course.
And so I guess there's been many people have been highly illuminated, or they just, so, like whatever is dividing us from the form and the formless, that, as you say, that curtain drop, and they could see what's going on. Well, call it Jesus, call it Chris Nunan, or call it Sydney Banks. It's, it's the same experience, just that you all try to put it across in different ways. And then I remember being with a lovely mentor I had, and we were talking about certain things, and he said, well, as soon as there's two people, there's obviously different opinions about the same thing, different realities, and there's politics sort of thing. So so somebody may say, well, no, it's it's a god, that it's like a person that lives somewhere, and then it came like this, or no, it's the Buddha. It's funny enough, like you're just trying to see the Buddha, and then Jesus Christ appears. Right?
Really brain.
It's as you say, it's like God, nature, that energy that we can explain what it is. You call it whatever you want, has a great sense of humor. Has a great sense of humor.
I think the humor is important. Yeah. I think it's what humor does is it makes us take ourselves less seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know, well, we're talking about it in a principles context. There was also Sydney Banks was known for cracking jokes all the time.
Mm.
I think people who have are good at being close to kind of the spiritual, they will also usually have a sense of humor. I mean, also developing a sense of humor in that you can laugh at your own crazy thinking or or feelings, or we seem to think we can predict everything. In our thinking, we can't. And we have this movie going on in between our ears, but we make some shitty movies sometimes. Really, you wouldn't want to watch that on television.
Oh, better! I tell you what, better. What is it? Special effects that even the movie that you were watching in the hospital. And one of the things I love is when we point at the truth that yes, we can nothing is that serious, even if it looks so serious, right?
Exactly.
We were talking before we started, and we were saying that one of the things that we always say when we come to do these episodes is that we want to come, well, we come as we are. We don't have to mask or pretend, or we don't have to be in a certain mood and then turn the camera on and then suddenly be somebody else that we're not, or so like we usually meet with our guests half an hour before the episode, and so Chris was trying to get into Zoom. I wasn't here yet. Wayne was trying to put everything together on his own. I don't think we hardly ever have something like that in a whole year.
Yeah.
Probably nearly 50 episodes or something. Oh, well, because you could be, you may be the 50th or something. I'm going to count them.
Check, yeah.
And apart from one that I may have had COVID and I was self-isolating at home, but we did the episode and we were in different places.
One or two. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just one.
I think we did one when I was isolating because of the op as well, so it could have been two. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
One or two.
But apart from that, so I put on my makeup, I was getting ready, and I was about to leave home, and accidentally I was going to kiss my daughter goodbye, and she bashes my face with her head, and my top lip starts bleeding. So she freaks out. I try to, we had some piece of bad news about somebody we also love in the family. We were really wobbling, and we're both now crying. It's a mess. My makeup is all a mess. My eyes are like that. It's a whole, my top is all messy. And I'm thinking, I need to go. I need to put myself together, because obviously Wayne is waiting for me and Chris is waiting. I was thinking, should I tell Wayne to do the episode without me? I was sitting at home, holding my face, thinking, I cannot do this. I just want to sit here and cry and cry and cry until I stop crying. But there was a moment I thought, oh, I love Chris so much. I really want to be there. It's like something just got me. It was like, no, let's go. And I was driving. I was still sort of a mess by the time I arrived here, like Chris and when we were talking. So very close to the start of this, I thought, well, I'm not looking quite myself in a way, as usually, you know, when we say hello and welcome to How to Think with Humans. But this is where we honor what you, Chris, are talking about, and what also our relationship has been with you all this time. That you've been part of this process of creation of these episodes. You've been with us in so many episodes, supporting and commenting and talking to us, and it's been the feeling we have together. I knew that we're going to get together, and what seems incredibly serious. I can't even speak. What seems incredibly serious at the moment about somebody in my family going through a really bad situation. I knew that we were going to get together, and soon enough, I didn't have to put a pretend smile on my face. I could just come and say, as I was, as I am, and then see what would happen. And that I didn't have to say to Chris, oh, sorry, I don't know, I'm very tired or whatever, you know, like make some excuse. I could just come and say, this is what's going on, and this is how we're going in.
I think it's just a letting go, isn't it? I think for me, throughout this whole episode today, it's the one thing that keeps coming back to me is letting go.
Yeah.
It's like yourself when you walked in, you were like, you know, all teary-eyed and everything, and I was like, do you want to talk about it? And you were like, no. And I said, okay, well, you don't have to at the moment, but if you want to later, we can do it. But as soon as I said that, I just saw you kind of just take a deep breath and you just let go. And it's the same with Chris when he's doing his photography. There's a point where when I'm taking pictures because I want to capture something. And what I see with Chris's photos, especially of the conference and especially today, with the photos we've seen, I see that you don't have that kind of expectation of, I want to get this, I want to get that. It's kind of, you're not pushing the trigger to take the photo. That's how it comes to me. It's like you literally just point, and whatever comes out, and you just have this way of just taking the most amazing photos.
Oh, thank you.
I work with Julian Fraser with the 3P UK conference.
Yeah, I know.
We do when I've been doing some of the emails and things, we've gone through some of the libraries of photos and things, and I just sit there sometimes and I'm just looking at them thinking, wow, I know the feeling that's coming from that photo.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
Thank you. But it's really interesting because I feel like it's a bit like being in a trance, because I can't remember very much of what I've been doing. And I think the trick is that I move my energy from the personal into the impersonal. And the impersonal is I'm just letting whatever comes through guide me, I guess. but it's like, I mean, it's also because if you feel it's personal, you couldn't take that kind of pictures. You know, you might be too shy. I can't go do this, but no, I don't. Just so, and I've luckily, I've got permission to do it. So,
Of course.
but I think that's one of the things, and so I think it's in a way if we go into what I call universal mind, it's not personal, and it's so I get, well, in the best case it's something beyond ego.
Yeah.
And that's why I can be surprised sometimes. Whoa, did I take that? That's a pretty good picture, And how did that happen, And well, it just seemed to happen. Just seemed to be there, I guess. And I think that's one of the things.
And then
yeah. So I think that's one of the points in this. I think I'm just going to. Can I just show you something?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Boom, boom, boom. I have this. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is live.
This is, yeah. This is a drawing, and let me see if I can get the light better here. This is actually Carolina. You have some glasses that look like an infinity sign. You don't have glasses, I know. And then there's all these arms and all this energy going round here. This is how I picture you. And I mean, you're kind of a mix between a coach and a Zumba instructor and a woman and a person with a lot of feelings and all this energy is just going. You've got a lot of energy. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of energy. Yeah. So I mean, we have this idea that we can describe ourselves with our name or with our makeup or whatever, but we're just all this swirling energy, whatever that is, that all this formless, and it's vibrating. Everything is vibrating. The whole universe is vibrating, and we think that we are form. We think, well, we're not. That's just what we use form to kind of hold it together in a shape. But really what we are all these impressions, and that's why sometimes you can catch, and same with photography, you can kind of catch some of the form, and maybe you can see these transitions going on all the time.
Yeah.
So I think what happens. I think what happens when we have a crisis of some kind, we kind of lock down and think I'm just one form. I'm just this feeling I have right now.
Yeah.
And we forget we forget that no, we're all over the place. We're even in infinity already. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened, because I was like, well, I can stay here in this thought and keep creating more, thinking about what I think is going to happen in the future and my life and other people's lives, and then keep creating special effects of a horror movie, or I can do this and come here and have a lovely time with you.
Yeah.
And one of the things I find is incredible, because Yael just joined us from Israel, and we have made friends that we feel like family, and that we can be so close and so intimate, as in, oh, Chris is going to hospital. Oh, Chris, and then when we get, it's like, and Chris is, and we're worried because it was COVID. You have to be on your own, so Doris could go there with you. And then when we get like, pictures of like, pictures of your lunch or what you were seeing, and you have the whole like word for your own, and and then we can go from that sort of like, oh, what's happened to Chris? Oh, look, what's happening to Chris? Oh,
Yeah.
but isn't he supposed to be more seriously worried about his health? Oh, well, he's doodling and making lovely stuff. It's
well, I don't know. I think that's beautiful. It's beautiful. I feel like that with you guys. Yeah. But it's just because it's kind of having this kind of common feeling. It in a way it's personal, and in a way it isn't. You see, that's the funny thing about it. But I think what's beautiful is that I think maybe the principles also gives us a common language in a way. That even though kind of, so we have some kind of common denominator or view of life, and I've seen what you've been doing, Carolina, with creativity, and I really loved it. I really see, yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And I think the more you do it, the more you it starts giving you a lot of other small gifts. Life starts giving you gifts, because you just start walking, and suddenly you see this beautiful whatever tree or person, or you just you fall in love with life, don't you? Because you realize that how beautiful everything is. I think that's what I'm also hearing from people talking about lots of things that I'm doing that they found it's kind of helping them to see the beauty. And this peninsula where I'm living, I posted a lot of these pictures you saw before, and there was a guy on one of the forums and Facebook. He was writing, well, I've lived here 30 years. I've never seen skies like this. I say, what's he, and I think I was a bit the same way before I found myself and got into this. It was like I was more like I was focused on my thinking, and I was focused on what I'm going to do now, or where I'm going, or what's important, or money, or whatever. I was kind of focused on that. So I guess I missed a hell of a lot of beautiful sunsets and birds and things in nature, because I just mentally I was somewhere else, and I wasn't really noticing other people. I was kind of very much noticing myself in periods. I've been very selfish, yeah, and and I think that's a big joke. So, well, I see it now. It's a big joke. And luckily, my family have been forgiving.
Yeah, and I think when we start freeing ourselves and becoming more connected, we make that available for other people. People can see that is a possibility, and I wonder, we have some people in the call. I don't know if they may want to ask a question or share something. So, well, we keep talking. If you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself or just write it down. So when you start drawing and then you start coloring, like I can see sometimes it's got a story.
Yeah.
And there are like different things in it. So I don't quite know what my question is, but does it come like with a feeling, or does like the pen sort of go as where it goes?
Well, I think it's different. Sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes it's something that I'm trying to draw, but usually I try to have like do some scribbles, whatever, and then I'm just having this. If you know this idea, you're looking up in the sky, and you see the clouds, and oh, that looks like a camel, or there's an angel, or you see you kind of see a form. You put a form onto what you're seeing, and sometimes that's the way it works. But the fun thing is that when you're doing that, I suddenly, for example, very often small animals start appearing in something of what I'm doing, and that's, I guess, some of the birds I've seen or whatever I'm interested in, and so I just find that sometimes some of the best drawings I've ever made I've just done like this, and afterwards I thought, well, I couldn't draw this again. It's just happened. Yeah. Our local church priest bought one of my drawings recently, and she didn't know this, but I'd actually been painting this or doing this drawing while I was listening to a sermon. Yeah.
Well, what I like is that when Picasso started doing these very, very simple 3-line things like these like the piece what do you call it, Dove, there's about 3 lines.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful, and I think one of the problems at that point was that it was the world became really shocked and couldn't understand how really divided people going like, yeah, but that is something that a 5-year-old could do. And then people were saying like, no, have you seen any 5-year-olds done that with 3 lines with that feeling? So it was this going to the and funny enough, I was actually listening to Seed this morning, and it was just like it pointing at simplicity, and that's where it is in simplicity, and that's one of the things I love of what you do.
Oh, thank you.
It really is. It really is. I can look at one of your drawings, and I'm like fascinated.
Oh, thank you.
I'm creating my own story around what you've done, and
but I'll tell you something. This is maybe interesting, because one of the issues I've had is that I just felt, well, this is just something I do. I haven't had this feeling that I was making art. And people keep telling me, oh, this is beautiful. Could I buy this? I'd love to have that. And I'm just, well, yeah, okay. So one of the things that this year I've used this quarantine to become an artist in a way, because I didn't really own it. Because I've just felt that I'm, I haven't felt anyone could do it, because anyone can't do it. I can see that, because people say, well, how do you do that? And honestly, I don't know. It's very often that I don't know. And I've also, sometimes I try to learn a technique also. It's not, I also try to see, well, how do you use certain type of colors, but very often that's why I'm also interested in the digital drawing on iPad, different programs, different digital apps. And one of the things I like about it is that it's fast. But I also sometimes need to slow down, and then it's a paper and pencil. It's a much slower medium. So, but that's also good sometimes, just slowing down and having a if that, and that's of course that's also what you need.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated by a book, a guy called James Hillman. He wrote that. It's an old book. I think it's called The Soul's Codes.
Uh-huh.
And that's about, it's about creativity, and the idea is that everyone has something that's a unique talent. Every living creature. It's in the old Latin or Greek, they call this a daimon. But it's also the word, it's almost the same word as demon.
Oh.
Because they're very close to each other.
Mm.
Now this is Jungian psychology, of course.
Yeah.
But this energy and so he's pointing out in the book that it can both be the most beautiful thing that ever happens to you, and it can also be the most destructive. Because if you don't ground it, it's destructive. It's like a hypomaniac, yeah? So if you can't ground it, if you can't get it onto something real, your head can start spinning too fast, yeah? So ground it through action, through being with other people and so on. It makes sense, and he has a whole lot of examples in this book of people who, all these artists who die at 27 or there's a lot of history about people not being able to ground their beautiful big talent, but everything else kind of goes bad for them. So I think that grounding it is a very important thing, and I guess the same with the principles, that we ground it, that we don't just stay in some airy fairy, I see the light. Yeah. So
apart from this big light for the video, I haven't seen any light in that sense, like the light,
no.
No, like it's not like the skies have opened and the angels sang, it's not been like that for me, but it's like these little moments and nuggets and things, and waking up to seeing, as you say, like waking up one morning to see that the garden is like, I've seen that garden for like 18 years, but suddenly there's something that is, oh my gosh, it's really incredibly beautiful. And you were talking, I was thinking, I remember the first time I went to Madrid, and one of my dreams was to go to the Prado, to the museum.
Yeah.
A lot of the artists that I really loved were there. So I got into the Prado, and soon enough, I started having like a huge headache, and it was so much altogether. It was so much, probably emotionally, and there was so much information on the pictures, and I was like, okay. And people were saying like the Prado is not something you can see in one day, you need like 3-4 days at least to digest. And then I was just looking at one of the pictures of the Bosco, which I always loved, and it's been in my house for ages since I was a child.
Okay.
And which in a way is quite it's quite bizarre. It's like but and it's actually very tiny. And I stay there and just sat for a long time looking at that. And then I left the Prado, and I thought, that's it. I think I don't need to come back during this trip. And what I thought I wasn't going to do is go to the Princess Sophia Museum, where the Expressionists are, because I thought for a long time they were all stupid. So obviously Picasso and Matisse, and
Yeah.
I like things which is like, well, anybody can go and paint 5 squares and put them together, like, and to my surprise, I was sort of pulled towards this museum that I was like,
Yeah.
and again, I remember my whole childhood, like especially my stepdad being absolutely fascinated with Picasso, and me going like, what is it? Like, what are they saying? What? Just childlike stuff. Like, I don't get it. Like, Raphael or Da Vinci, or that they are really artists because of like the thick. And then again, obviously, I was sort of pulled towards simplicity, and once you get close, like, you don't need to know what the principles are, you don't need to understand the principles. Anybody that is in touch with that creativity, or that love for creativity and creation, starts getting close to that feeling and that simplicity. So whatever is too much information doesn't look that appealing anymore.
Yeah.
Simplicity starts making more sense.
I'm so happy you say that. Just to make it that kind of, we went to Salt Spring Island, and that's a long trip, yeah. And so we were sitting there at the course on the first day, and I guess they were introducing talking Chip and Elsie. And well, we also kind of understood that, well, we're not going to talk any longer than if kind of spirit, if we're inspired to say something, and we, from the principles, we do that, and when not, you'll have to go. And people have been traveling, from this other side of the world, and it wasn't that many hours, and said, well, now we suggest you go downtown and have a good time. Bye-bye. And I could see the faces of some of the people were there. It was like, what? Now, we've traveled from, out of nowhere. We've used thousands of dollars, and we're here. And now you're just saying, go and experience life. Go and have a nice time. Drink some coffee, whatever. Go to the park. So that's grounding. That's grounding.
To put people in context, this is July 2021.
Yeah.
And this year they have done the Third Principle School online.
I know.
Chipman and Elsie's Hospital for the first time. So, we've been for years thinking, oh yes, we really want to go.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. You need to like get the money together and all that. So, so that's, as you say, like that was maybe years in the making of for like going there, and then you get there and you hear these people exactly what Sid used to say. People sometimes used to just come to see him, and he will say, "Well, go back." Because there's nothing.
Yeah, it's just I think it's pointing to the what we're talking about here is not what you expect. It's not. It's very simple. That's what we've been talking about in a way. Also, it's actually very, very simple, and there's not a lot of steps to it or something. You just look at where your experience is coming from. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And when you start doing that, your world starts looking differently. You start having more humor, and maybe also be better at forgiving yourself, or because part of us is still doing the world as if it was like it was in the old times, or how we thought it was. That programming is still there somewhere, I guess. Yeah. but it doesn't have that power over you that it did before.
Oh, Chris, I'm aware of your time and
so yeah, I think we covered it.
Before we go, I really want to know about Doris.
Oh yeah.
I would just love for Chris Nunan in 2020, 2021, and that beautiful, amazing woman by your side.
Oh, thank you. So she is the most amazing person. Well, I think it's just like it's wonderful being together with someone that you have this telepathic contact. We even though we're very different, in many ways. I would say I'm the extrovert and she's the introvert. But that means you better listen when she says something, because she means it, yeah? I can say a lot of shit without meaning it. But sorry, but I can be, quite elaborate sometimes. But she actually thinks about what she's saying. Yeah, I don't always. I mean, I'm getting better at it. I mean, I have this ability to talk for hours, and sometimes it even tires myself.
Yeah, I think we do as well. We could be talking to you until tomorrow, but
and we'd keep on finding something to talk about, I'm sure, because
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a nice evening.
Yeah.
That's the beauty about having this great connection, and
But let's see each other for real sometime. So it'll be nice.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank
well,
you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We really, it was we both look at each other. We knew that we wanted to have you here.
Okay.
And so, Chris, where can people find you if they want to talk to you?
Well, I think they could look at the soulnudging.com, which is a website, and that's one of the ways. Otherwise, just my name on Facebook. I just, I think that's it. You could also look up Chris Nunan Photography, or if you want, and on Facebook. There's a hell of a lot of pictures there, all kinds of pictures taken through the times, and I think that would be the best ways.
Yeah, but we'll put all the links.
Yep.
We're gonna put all the links
Absolutely.
on the video so you can find Chris. And you had messages of people saying like, it's been amazing and thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to sit here with you tonight. Thank you. And also I love what Chris said about the shapes in the sky. Sounds just like my mother. Diva says thank you so much all the way from Australia. You need to go. So thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next week. On Wednesday, we're going to have Ankush Jain, and Ankush is a coach of coaches.
Yeah, I know him.
Yay! And again, is somebody that started when we started. I know when Ankush was like sort of leaving his day job and going like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And now he's such an inspiration for so many people. And he's such a beautiful, beautiful man. And he's worked with men a lot on men retreats, and he's doing beautifully and so many lovely things. So we're gonna have Ankush next Wednesday, and then we're gonna take a month off because we haven't stopped the whole year, and then we're gonna go back to finish this Series 6 in September, where Steve Adair is going to join us on the 8th of September to restart. But before that, we have Ankush Jain next week. So again, thank you so much to everybody here. Thank you, Chris. You're an absolute gift. Send a love to your lovely Doris.
I will. And I'm sure she'll do it the same. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.